Welcome back to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're diving into something really fascinating. The Awakened Heart Spiritual Lessons from Mark 13. Now, if you know anything about Mark 13, you know it's kind of famous for its intense doomsday prophecies, right? Talk of cosmic upheaval, falling temples, the end of the age. When the world feels chaotic, human nature craves a roadmap. We want to know exactly what's going to happen next and when. But what our source material does today is completely flip that script. It proposes this captivating idea. What if this famous chapter isn't a crystal ball at all, but rather a profound, revealing mirror for our present lives?
So, let's jump right into part one, Beyond Predicting the Future. A mirror, not a crystal ball. Let's strip away all that obsession with finding clues about the future for a second. We're looking at a massive paradigm shift here. On one hand, we've got this totally natural human instinct, a deep curiosity about tomorrow. But on the other hand, we find the actual goal, which is faithfulness in the present. Jesus isn't just trying to satisfy our itch for what happens someday down the line. He's actually preparing us to be spiritually awake right now, equipped to handle whatever tomorrow brings purely because of how we live today.
There's this incredible takeaway from the text. The future belongs to those who remain faithful in the present. Take a second and just let that sink in. You know, we spend so much energy stressing about the years ahead, but spiritual maturity, it isn't measured by how much we think we know about tomorrow. It's literally measured by how fully and how faithfully we live with God today.
Which brings us to part two, building a lasting foundation, what cannot be shaken.
The text tells the story where the disciples are just in absolute awe of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. To them, it looked completely indestructible. But Jesus drops a bombshell. He quietly tells them that one day, every single stone will fall. And man, that applies to so much more than just a physical building in the ancient world. Think about the temporary stuff we mistakenly build our own identities on. Careers, health, money, reputation, earthly accomplishments. It's a relatable list, isn't it? But here's the kicker. If any of those are your foundational bedrock, your entire sense of self is going to crumble when things inevitably change or fade away.
So the real game changer here is shifting our reliance away from what can be lost. True transformation begins when we anchor ourselves in the eternal. By rooting our identity in the one who never changes, life's inevitable storms might still shake us. Because, let's face it, hard times will always come, but they don't define us anymore. So, I want to ask you a pretty heavy question. What am I depending on right now that cannot last? Take just a few seconds to really wrestle with that. It's honestly the very first step toward establishing a truly unshakable foundation.
Okay, let's move into part three, guarding your sacred space, deception and the heart.
The text gives us this really urgent warning: do not be deceived. Usually we think of deception as someone outright lying to us, right? But the most dangerous lies are actually the ones we quietly tell ourselves. Think about it. Fear convinces us we're totally alone. Pride whispers that we already know enough, shutting down our growth. Comfort tells us we don't need to change, and our ego just constantly spins stories so we don't have to see our own flaws. Living an awakened life means having the profound courage to let God expose these uncomfortable internal lies. Truth isn't always fun initially, but it is always incredibly freeing in the end.
Every human heart was designed to be a sacred space. We just think about the sheer volume of things competing for that space. Fear, resentment, control, greed, addiction, pride, unforgiveness. It is a lot, right? And in our crazy, fast-paced world, it's so easy for these things to just quietly take root. When they do, they silently empty us out. They allow us to function on the outside, but inwardly, they're stealing our peace.
Which brings us to another tough but totally necessary mirror. What has quietly become more important to me than my relationship with God? Take a deep breath and let that question serve as a genuine reflection of your spiritual state today.
All right, shifting gears a bit, let's look at part four, the wisdom of the seasons, trusting the hidden work. The text uses this really beautiful metaphor of a fig tree to show how God's story always moves toward hope and how life unfolds in distinct, necessary phases. We cycle through seasons of active growth, long seasons of waiting, painful seasons of pruning, joyful seasons of abundance, and quiet seasons of rest. It's a fantastic reminder that spiritual maturity is a gradual process. And honestly, growth gets way less frustrating when we just stop fighting the specific season we happen to be in right now.
Because here is the absolute truth. One of our greatest struggles is expecting fruit while God is still growing the roots. We live in a world that demands instant results, don't we? But real transformation rarely happens overnight.
We have to learn to trust His timing, knowing that the deepest, most vital work usually happens beneath the surface, way before anyone else can even see the results. So, if you're finding yourself in a long season of waiting or pruning, ask yourself this: what might God be growing beneath the surface of my life right now? Honestly, just replacing your frustration with a comforting trust in that hidden process, it can completely change how you experience your present moment.
Let's head into the climax of the text with part 5, choosing to stay awake, stepping off autopilot.
After all the prophecies, all the warnings and metaphors, Jesus leaves His followers with one ultimate repeated instruction: stay awake. Two incredibly powerful words. He isn't talking about downing more coffee and scanning the skies for the apocalypse. He's giving us an urgent, personal invitation to live with daily, conscious intention. And it sets up this really stark contrast. On one side, we have living on autopilot, which, let's be real, is the default for a lot of us. Same thoughts, same fears, same knee-jerk habits day after day, where weeks just bleed into years. But on the other side, that's the awakened life. Attentive, teachable, actively guarding the heart. It's deciding that every ordinary day is actually a profound opportunity for real transformation.
So how do we actually pull this off? Well, the text gives us some super practical, active choices. 1. Notice His presence in the everyday stuff, the quiet moments you usually rush right past. 2. Remain teachable. Don't let pride trick you into thinking you've got it all figured out. 3. Respond quickly when truth is revealed, even if it requires a tough apology. And 4. Choose love intentionally. Love is an action, you know. An awakened life isn't lived by accident. It's lived attentively through these deliberate steps.
So let's do a quick reality check. Where have I been drifting instead of living with intention? Take a second and just honestly evaluate where autopilot might have quietly taken the wheel in your life.
And this brings our whole explainer full circle, back to our original thesis. The purpose of prophecy is not simply to inform us about the future, it is to awaken us in the present. This ancient text isn't supposed to be some source of anxiety or a puzzle to be solved. It is quite literally a present-day catalyst for peace, mindfulness, and active faith. Because here is the incredible truth. Every single sunrise is a brand new opportunity. An opportunity to choose love over fear in how you interact with others. To choose truth over the comfortable deception of your own ego. To choose surrender over the exhausting, endless need for control. And to choose faithfulness over all the relentless distractions of the modern world. The person who is truly ready for whatever tomorrow brings is the one who wakes up today with an open heart and a quiet willingness to be transformed.
Which leaves us with one final profound thought. The disciples wanted to know exactly when the end would happen, but Jesus spent His time teaching them how to live. So I'll leave you with this. How will you live while you wait? Will you be fearful or faithful, drifting or awakened? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Step off autopilot today, and I'll see you next time.